This week on Full Circle Florida, TikTok in Tallahassee as the legislative session starts to wind down. Are the losses piling up for Governor DeSantis? And why does his own party seem to be so against him? Meanwhile, the Hope Florida scandal rocking the first family of the Sunshine State. What's the real story? In the eye of the storm, I'm back where Hurricane Milton struck, talking to survivors and residents now gearing up for a new storm season. And my deep dive conversation this week with Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scutter, now on a mission to rebrand his party in the only state that's actually redder than Florida. Can the Democratic Party be saved, or are they lost in the woods? Let's get right to it. Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders joining us right now from Tallahassee. Forrest, this time last week you were reporting on the deadly mass shooting on the campus of FSU, just down the road from the state capitol. This week, students went back to class, some still too shocked and upset to go back, understandably. Others demanding action, though, from lawmakers. From what you've seen, have Florida lawmakers responded to those students?
I mean, it depends on what political side of the aisle you're talking to. I mean, as a whole, we've got GOP supermajorities in the legislature. They're very much advocates for the Second Amendment. So we're not seeing any kind of gun reform that's probably going to pass this session. Democrats have been responsive. They want to see some gun reform as well. Everything from universal background checks to restrictions on ammo sales. They say that these are bills that they suggest every year, but have yet to get traction. Yeah, we saw maybe 100 FSU students who stopped by the campus over the last couple of days and tried to pressure lawmakers to do something, but this is nothing like the response we saw in 2018 post-Parkland. Obviously, the tragedies are still terrible, but there was a much bigger response back then, and I think lawmakers felt more motivated to take action. Instead, this year, you still got some lawmakers who want to repeal some of those post-Parkland reforms, so it doesn't look like any changes are going to be made this legislative session.
Meanwhile, the legislative session winding down, the political losses for Governor DeSantis seem to be piling up. Bring us up to speed on what this legislative session may mean for the governor in his last 2 years and why this was such a turning point for his relationship with his own party.
Yeah, this is a lame duck session for DeSantis. I mean, he is not capable of running for re-election. Obviously, there's some question whether or not his wife's going to get in. We'll have to see. But it seems like his star in Republican politics, at least in the Florida legislature, is fading. And what that means is that he no longer has the control that he used to have, right? He doesn't have the ability to pitch an idea and then see it simultaneously approved by the legislature. His hold over them has weakened drastically. And what that means is that he basically has to wait in line like any other lawmaker. If he wants to get something done, he's going to have to hope that the legislature will be interested in it, because right now they are rejecting a number of his proposals, whether that's open carry, whether that's property tax reform. We're just not seeing any of those pieces of legislation move. So this might be the end for him.
All right. Forrest Saunders, as always, sir, thank you for your insight. Appreciate it. Okay, let's bring in our political analyst, Dr. Susan McManus. The other story hanging over the governor, Susan, the Hope for Florida scandal. And I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but basically they're saying that $10 million of money got funneled through that organization that Casey DeSantis is the face of to help pay for this statewide campaign against the marijuana ballot, which was defeated. How damaging is this for the governor?
Well, we don't know right yet, because even now there's new things coming out. Not all the paperwork or all the evidence has been forthcoming, and the governor and some of his team and agencies say one thing and have this kind of data, and the representative who's representing the subcommittee that's hearing all this says something else. It doesn't look good by any stretch.
Yeah, and they wrapped up abruptly the investigation this week and said, okay, we're moving on. But have you ever seen a sitting governor of Florida more publicly at odds with his own party? I mean, he's been trading barbs with the House Speaker. It's been going back and forth. And in a way, it's a symbiotic relationship. His success is dependent on their success and vice versa.
Actually, there is a very well-known governor in 1975, Reuben Askew, totally controlled Democratic House, Senate, Democratic governor, and he was chiding them because they refused to pass a law that laid out some very strict rules about financial disclosure. They didn't do it. So what did he do? He went to the public and said, you all need to engage in a petition drive, and I will be very supportive of it. And when it went on the ballot the next year, it passed by 80%.
That's interesting that you have these family feuds among your own party, but next year, Governor still has some meat on the bone here, another year and then some. Where does this go from here, do you think?
That is yet to be determined because as soon as we start talking about the elections next year, the governor is a lame duck. He knows it. Everyone knows it. So will the fight be aimed at him or other opponents within your party? Because we're expecting some very competitive party primaries for all kinds of offices next year. So I think it's up in the air right now.
And a lot at stake, no doubt. All right, Susan McManus, thank you. We'll see you in a little bit. Next on Full Circle Florida, 6 months after Hurricane Milton and 1 month before a new season begins, I go back to talk with residents how they're still healing from the last hurricane and hoping another one doesn't come their way. Welcome back to Full Circle Florida. Hurricane Milton tore through Bradenton and Manatee County, leaving scars still fresh from last season. I went back where it hit hardest, talking to neighbors there who are still picking up the pieces, both physically and emotionally, as they now brace for a new hurricane season just 1 month away. Their resilience, their fears, and their fight to rebuild. This is their story.
Paul, I know the weather conditions are starting to deteriorate quickly.
6 months ago, Hurricane Milton roared into Manatee County as a Category 3 storm.
Me really starting to sing with the wind coming through.
We were live on the ground, capturing Milton's fury in real time and speaking with neighbors as the winds howled and the rain poured.
All right, Gigi, Carl, how are you?
Worried about the door blowing.
That's all right. How you guys doing? How you holding up?
Holding up. Actually, the power's been off and on, so we've been lucky to keep it on. How about you over there?
We're doing good. You can tell the wind's starting to pick up.
All right.
Blue tarps. You see the blue tarp still 6 months later over that mobile home. Now, 6 months later, we're back in Manatee County checking in on those same neighbors as they rebuild their lives with another hurricane season now just weeks away.
It got scary, I'll be honest with you. It did get scary.
We met Carl at home again on a perfect Florida day. What was that like, riding this thing out here?
Well, like I said, we had some wine, so that helped us out. But no, it was, it just got stronger and stronger. Couldn't believe it.
And what did Gigi think, your better half, about this whole experience?
Gigi would have been better for this interview, but she's already been talking about this. I can't believe this hurricane season's already here. So thankfully Gigi was sleeping, but I was pacing the house. Yeah, I think it was the line.
So you were babysitting the storm and she was out?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Nice.
right. We were out of power here for about 11 days.
Oh,
or
wow.
12, I think, yeah.
So that was not comfortable.
No, that was not.
Each storm teaches you something different. I always say in covering the storm is actually the easy part. It's the day after and the day after that and the day after that that I think are the kind of the grind of it. Just up the road from Carl and Gigi's Royal Garden Estates. The morning after Milton, we were live on the air as residents came home to find this.
And look at this, and the story of this situation here is you see the insulation of a roof, the tree there completely ripped the roof off of this manufactured home. The folks here haven't even moved in yet.
Destruction in every direction after the hurricane. Homes leveled, lives upended.
Holly, hey dear, we're on the air here on ABC Action News.
We met Holly live on the air as she hit the ground, helping her neighbors.
Our goal was to get our stuff unpacked from the hotel and then just start reaching out to people to see what we could do to help them in the littlest way.
6 months later, we checked in with Chuck, one of Holly's neighbors.
6 months later, what is your sense of how things are here?
Well, it's come back together a long ways. At that point you're talking, there was no electricity, no water, no sewer, nothing for, 2 weeks or better. And each thing come back on its own, and everybody was there to help everybody else out.
Chuck's home did okay. His carport took a beating. And today, he's optimistic, but cautious. No one wants to acknowledge that we're about to enter another hurricane season, but we're less than 2 months out. What are your thoughts leading up to June 1st and the 6 months after?
Well, I'm not no weather reporter, but this hadn't happened since 1921. It was that many years between them, so our law averages should be better.
While some scars still remain, hope is shared by many here as the county works to rebuild and fully recover. Looking ahead to another hurricane season, Carl tells me he's more prepared this time and ready for whatever comes to his piece of paradise.
Do you think about it? Do you dread it? Or do you just say, you know what, I'll deal with it when it happens?
I'm more the deal with it when it happens and be prepared type of guy.
Yeah.
I think my Army background helps me. I try to be ready for any situation. So more prepared. I'm actually looking at a different generator that's battery run. Praying for a good season. You know, we've been here 8 years and there's 4 or 5 between Ian and Dorian, a couple others, but yeah, last year was definitely challenging because they hit on our coast here, you know, so better prepared.
Yeah,
that's all you can
absolutely.
say.
Carl, thank you for taking the time.
No
Tell
worries,
Gigi I
Paul.
said hello.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
Appreciate it.
Next on Full Circle Florida, the future of the Democratic Party and the question, is there one? Welcome back. Deep in the red heart of Texas, Kendall Scutter, the newly elected chair of the Democratic Party in the only state in the nation that's redder than Florida, is on a mission. He's one of many young rising Democrats who are fighting to reshape a party that is struggling to find its footing in this era of Trump. With the latest Gallup poll showing confidence in Democratic congressional leadership plummeting to a historic low of just 25%, down from 34% in 2023, it would appear voters are losing faith. Can America's oldest political party claw its way back to relevance, or is it teetering on the edge of extinction? Here's our conversation. So why have Democratic leaders struggled to mount an effective response to Donald Trump and Republicans in the wake of the 2024 election?
I don't think that they have. I think that what you're seeing is large coalescence against Donald Trump and his billionaire cronies in D.C. You see record high unfavorability for folks like Elon Musk. You see people like Donald Trump underwater in places like Texas. So I think that the message is starting to become more salient. It takes a little bit of time. It takes more time than it does for Donald Trump to crash an economy, that's for sure. But we're working on pulling that together now. And I think that people are starting to see that the Democratic Party is the party that always has and always will continue to fight for the working people of this country, while the Republican Party and folks like Donald Trump are surrounding themselves with these oligarchs and these billionaires that have their boots on our necks.
What does the latest Gallup poll reveal about the current state of confidence in the Democratic Party or for the Democratic Party? The numbers don't seem to be too kind right now for the Democrats.
I think that you have members of our coalition who are not afraid to criticize the institution, right? And so that doesn't say a lot on whether or not it's on the left or on the right or how people feel about it. It's hard to interpret and read what that is. Here's what it says to me. Since Donald Trump got elected in 2016, the Democratic Party shifted from being a party advocating every single day for working people to being a party that was trying to preserve institutions. And those institutions, some of them needed to be preserved, and maybe some of them don't. But we were so concerned with Donald Trump lighting the system on fire that we lost track of what was important to us foundationally as a party. And that's that we're getting out of bed every single day and trying to figure out how we can be as helpful as we can towards making life easier for working people. And 2024, I think, sent a very loud message to us that we need to get back to our roots as a party, and that's a party that advocates for unions and fair working conditions and fair wages and consumer protection and things that impact people's day-to-day life. And that's what, as a party, what we're starting to do moving forward. That's what I think that those types of pollings tell us, is that type of messaging is going to be much more impactful for us in the long term.
But what does the Democratic Party need to do to be relevant again and competitive again? I saw this week the so-called emergence of dark woke, these articles written about this. Apparently it's a blunter version of messaging and the Democratic Party. Some might say even Trumpian in tone. But is that kind of rhetoric really sustainable? Is that going to be enough for the Democrats to become competitive, or is that just a gimmick and is it just more shallow language and the Democrats becoming sort of I'm not going to say victim, but caught up in language rather than policy, because people would say that was what happened last time, that they cared too much about words and not enough about action and messaging that connected with voters?
I think rhetoric is the problem. folks do not view the Democratic Party or the individuals that represent it as being people who are authentic and people that are speaking from their true life experiences. Instead, they sort of view us as folks who are risk adverse and trying to read off of talking points. I think that's why I've done pretty well within the Democratic Party in Texas to become a millennial chairman of this state. It's because I'm a pretty brash guy that just kind of tells it like it is. I think our party needs to get back to that. That authenticity piece speaks volumes simply because people don't necessarily vote with their brains, they vote with their guts and whether or not they trust you. And are you actually looking out for them, and are you a person that they think is going to throw down for them? And if you're reading off a script the whole time, it's not going to translate the way it needs to. So that's to my advice to the party is it's not about going whatever you said, dark woke, or I'm not really familiar with that concept. To me, it's about just kind of speaking truth to power, not being afraid to stand up to these people who are constantly trying to run this government on the backs of working people and at the expense of their kids' futures. People can't afford to live in homes right now. They can't afford to rent them. They can't afford to buy them. They can't afford the insurance on them or the interest rates on them. Life is expensive. And I think the American public expects to have elected representatives that get out of bed every morning and eat glass and do everything they can to fight back and make life easier for them. That's what our party was founded on. That's what I'm trying to bring us back to. And that's the message that I think gets us through what we're in right now, because nothing becomes more salient than a point of us standing up and fighting against oligarchs on behalf of working people versus a Trump White House that is stocked full of billionaires who are cutting every social safety net program they can, except for the ones that go into their own pockets.
Does the Democratic Party need to find some new faces? We've seen AOC and Bernie Sanders out there at their rallies. They're actually attracting some pretty large crowds, but is that brand of the Democratic Party too extreme? And could that not end up alienating the very voters that the Democratic Party would need in order to win again?
We are a coalition party with a whole lot of different people from a whole lot of different backgrounds. And yeah, I think we need some new voices from every one of those coalitions to be standing up and be fresh faces and fresh messengers for us. Because if we want to move forward as a party, we need to level with the fact that folks didn't show up to vote for us in the last election. We can either argue with them and tell them why they're wrong, or we can own up to it and try to make it right. And the way we do that is to roll out a new roster of people who are here to serve, that are here to listen, that are here to fight back on behalf of people. Sometimes that may put them on the left. Sometimes that may put them closer to the center. To me, that ideology piece isn't as important as knowing that they are authentically fighting for working families. You see all the time people who probably would be categorized on the far left or on the left who still receive really high polling numbers. Same thing with people on the right. It's less about philosophy and less about ideology as much as it's about who the person is, what their point of view is, and what their objective is, what they're trying to accomplish. And the voters can read through whether or not you're trying to make life easier for them or whether or not you're working for your donors and your owners.
Interesting take. Kendall Scutter, thank you for your insight. Really appreciate it. Next on Full Circle Florida, a big shakeup in the state Democratic Party in Florida. Who's leaving the party behind, and the one-time Republican who's now joining the Dems. Welcome back into Full Circle Florida, back with my partner in politics, Dr. Susan McManus. So big development in state politics this week. Jason Pizzo, centrist Democrat senator, basically left the Democratic Party. I mean, that's huge.
Party switching seems to be in the water at the moment because not only did Pizzo say that he wasn't going to be a Democrat anymore, he's now an independent or no party affiliation. Then you've got David Jolly, a former Republican congressman from the Pinellas County area, who is now, he was a Republican, yep, then an independent, but now he is filed to be a Democrat because if you want to run for a different party next year, the filing deadline for the candidates is June 8th. And so they're all trying to switch parties and get in the right position to see in the position which they think they can win.
Switching teams. We'll see how it plays out. Dr. McManus, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching us here on Full Circle Florida. We'll hope you join us again next week. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.